All right, so we're going deep on this NIO earnings report.
Yeah.
You've given me like all this stuff, financials, press releases, even what analysts are saying.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess like what we're trying to figure out is, can NIO actually pull off this huge expansion they're talking about?
Yeah.
Keep that premium brand image they have and make money at the same time.
It's a high-stakes game for sure.
Right.
But to really get what they're doing, we got to start with the number.
Okay, so let's do it. Deliveries first.
Okay.
They hit a record.
Yeah.
61,855 vehicles
Wow.
this quarter.
That's a lot.
That's over 11% growth year over year, which sounds pretty good, right?
It is, yeah. Especially in a market like China's EV market. It's so competitive.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. Of those 61,855,
Yeah.
61,023 were NIO brand.
Wow.
Their premium brand.
Okay.
Only 832 were from ONVO. Oh, so like tiny but mighty.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's still really early for ONVO.
Right.
But seeing any sales at all means their strategy of hitting these different markets is at least working a little.
It's happening, yeah. And that's not even all right.
No.
The CEO hinted at a third art brand.
Oh, wow.
Firefly.
Okay.
It's supposed to launch at NIO Day 2024.
Okay.
This one's going for the compact car market.
Wow.
So like even more affordable than ONVO.
Okay.
So are they spreading themselves too thin, or is this like genius?
That is the big question.
Right.
It's risky for sure going from luxury to family to mass market all at once.
Yeah.
But if they can actually do it,
Yeah, if they pull it off, it could be huge.
it could be massive. Okay, but hold on though. Their revenue actually went down a little year over year. Does that mess things up?
Not necessarily. Total revenue might be down. Yeah, but their gross profit actually went up by over 31%.
Oh, wow.
So they're getting more efficient, making more profit on each car they sell.
So it's not just about how many they sell, it's about how much money they're making from each one.
Exactly. And their vehicle margin, think of it as profit per car, jumped to 13.1% this quarter.
Oh, wow.
They said material costs were lower, which is good.
Yeah.
It means they're managing their supply chain well.
Okay, so they're getting smarter about how they spend.
Yeah.
But doing all of this expansion stuff takes a lot of money, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like a lot.
But they've got it.
Okay.
They got a 3.3 billion RMB investment from partners this quarter.
Wow.
And they're putting in another 10 billion of their own money.
Wow.
Plus, they could add another 20 billion RMB by the end of 2025.
Jeez, they are not messing around.
Nope.
But is that even enough to take on the big guys? Can they actually compete?
They're already doing it, you know.
Yeah.
They're the top brand in China right now for EVs, over 300,000 RMB.
So in the luxury market, they're winning.
Over 40% market share.
For the first 3 quarters of this year. Okay, so they're doing well, and they've got new models coming out too. Their executive flagship, the ET9,
Yes.
is about to hit mass production.
It's going to be big.
It's supposed to be like packed with all their newest tech.
Absolutely. The ET9 is a big statement for them. It shows off all their innovation.
Yeah.
And speaking of new models, the ONVO L60, their family SUV, is already being made and it's starting to catch on.
Okay, so they're hitting different markets. Their money situation's looking good, and they've got these cool new products coming out. Are we missing anything?
Well, all this is happening while the world economy is kind of shaky.
Right.
The EV market's no different. You know, competition's getting tougher and people are always changing how they buy things.
So no smooth sailing ahead.
No, probably not. But their predictions for Q4 are good.
Okay.
They're aiming for 72,000 to 75,000 deliveries.
Wow.
That's almost a 50% jump from last year.
Huge.
And they think revenue will go up a lot too.
Okay, before we get into all those numbers, and we will get into them, what's the one thing that really stands out to you about all this?
I think it's their ambition.
Yeah.
They're not just trying to survive. They want to dominate. Multiple brands, cutting-edge tech, big expansion. It's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
It's either going to be a huge success or a huge failure.
And everyone's going to be watching NIO Day 2024 to see what they do next.
Yeah, especially about this Firefly brand.
Right.
NIO Day is always a big deal, but this year feels even bigger. They're at a crossroads. You know, their choices now could shape their future for years.
All right, enough teasing.
Okay.
Let's actually get into these financial numbers and see if they can actually back up this big plan they have.
Let's do it. There's a lot to go through, but I think you'll find it pretty interesting.
I hope so.
I think you will.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of these financials.
Okay.
Remember, the big question is, can NIO's numbers support these huge plans they have?
Right. Yeah. Where do we even start with all this?
It's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, it is a good place to start is breaking down their revenue streams.
Okay.
So they've got vehicle sales, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah, they sell cars, they make money.
Exactly. And then there's other sales.
Okay.
Which is stuff like parts, accessories, service, and all their power solutions stuff.
Oh, right, like battery swapping charging?
Exactly.
So it's like the whole ecosystem around owning a NIO.
Yeah, precisely. And that's where it gets kind of interesting.
Okay.
Their vehicle sales for Q3 2024 actually went down a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to 16.69 billion RMB, about 2.37 billion US dollars.
Okay.
That's down 4.1% year over year.
Wait, but didn't they have record deliveries this quarter?
Yeah.
Shouldn't sales be up?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But the average price they're selling cars for went down.
Oh, okay.
Remember, they're starting to sell more ONVOs,
Right.
and those are probably priced lower than their fancy NIO models.
So more cars, but at a lower price.
Exactly.
That's a trade-off, I guess, but is that going to work long term? That's what we need to figure out.
Yeah.
Now, other sales is a different story.
Okay.
That brought in 1.97 billion RMB, up 19.2% compared to last year.
So even though car sales dipped a little, the money they make from everything around the car is growing a lot.
Exactly. As more people own NIOs, they need more parts and service and all that.
Yeah.
And their power solution stuff like battery swapping is getting more popular too.
This reminds me of those tech companies that practically give away their gadgets,
Yeah.
but then make a ton of money on subscriptions.
It's a similar idea to create those ongoing revenue streams.
Yeah, beyond just the initial sales smart.
Yeah, especially with all the competition out there.
Okay, but making cars is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
What about their cost of sales? Did that go down?
It actually did.
Holy.
Yeah, it was 16.66 billion RMB.
Okay.
A 5% decrease from last year.
Hold on. Costs went down with all this inflation going on. How did they do that?
They're really focused on cutting costs.
Okay.
They specifically talked about lower material costs per vehicle. Seems like they're getting better deals with suppliers and stuff.
So they're getting better at controlling costs.
Yeah.
That's got to be a good sign, right?
It is, but it's not the whole picture. We also got to look at their operating expenses.
Right. Like all the research and development, marketing, all that.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, because developing new tech and getting people to know your brand doesn't come cheap.
Nope. Their R&D for Q3 was 3.31 billion RMB.
Okay.
Up a little from last year. Their selling general and administrative expenses saw a bigger jump, though.
Yeah.
Hit 4.1 billion RMB.
So they're spending more, especially on marketing and growth.
Yeah. Makes sense with all these expansion plans.
Right. But how does all this add up? Are they actually making money?
Well, that's where it gets a bit tricky. Their net loss for Q3 was 5.05 billion RMB. A little higher than last year.
A loss.
Yeah.
So even with record deliveries, higher margins, all this talk of being efficient, they're still losing money.
It's important to remember they're still a pretty young company.
Okay.
In a super fast-moving industry. And they're spending a lot on growth and innovation.
Yeah.
It's pretty normal for companies at this stage to be operating at a loss.
So it's like a startup spending a ton of money to grow really fast.
Yeah.
Hoping they'll make money eventually.
Exactly. The question is, do they have enough to keep this up until they become profitable?
Well, they did get that big investment we talked about.
Right.
Does that change things?
Absolutely. With over 42 billion RMB in cash and equivalents.
Wow.
Plus the potential for even more investment, they're in a good spot to keep going for a while.
Okay, so they have the money to play the long game. But are there any signs they're actually moving towards making a profit?
Actually, yes. They said their free cash flow turned positive this quarter.
Okay, I'm going to need you to explain that one.
Sure.
What does positive free cash flow even mean, and why is it important?
Think of it like this. Free cash flow is the money a company has left over after paying for its operations and investments.
Okay.
If it's positive, it means they're making enough to maybe pay off debt, buy back stock, or even pay dividends later on.
So it's a sign that they're financially healthy and sustainable.
Exactly. It means they're not just relying on outside money to stay afloat.
Yeah.
Their core business is actually starting to bring in cash.
That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So all their efforts to control costs and be more efficient are starting to pay off.
It's a very positive sign. Now, there's a lot more we could go over in these financials.
Yeah.
But I think this gives us a good understanding of the main points.
It definitely does. It's interesting to see how everything connects. You know, their strategy, how they're doing financially, what's happening in the market. It's like this big puzzle, and we're starting to see the whole picture.
I agree, but we got to remember this is just a snapshot.
Right.
The EV market changes so fast.
Yeah.
NIO needs to be smart and adapt to stay ahead.
Right. So what we see today could be totally different tomorrow, but based on what we know now, what do you think overall? Are they on the right track?
It's too early to say for sure.
Yeah.
But they are making smart moves,
Yeah.
expanding into different markets, focusing on tech and innovation. Yeah.
And their financial situation is getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
All of that suggests they could really be a major player in the EV industry.
But there are definitely challenges ahead of them.
Oh, absolutely. Competition is tough. The global economy is uncertain, and people are always changing what they want.
Right.
NIO has to navigate all that to succeed.
Okay, before we finish up this whole financial deep dive, I'm curious about something.
Yeah.
They're going into all these new markets. Premium family now, maybe a more affordable option.
Right.
But how do they do that without messing up their brand image? Can they be everything to everyone without diluting their brand?
That's the million-dollar question. A lot of companies struggle with that.
Yeah.
They got to make sure each brand has its own clear identity and target audience
Right.
without confusing people.
Yeah, it's like a balancing act.
Exactly.
Right.
They need to make their brands different, but still have a unified overall identity.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle all that as they grow.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some answers at NIO Day. Maybe they'll give us some insight into their strategy there.
It's going to be a big one for them.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of NIO Day, we know they're all about innovation and technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of their brand. Let's move on to that side of their business next.
Okay.
I'm really curious to see what they're working on and how it fits into their whole plan.
Yeah, NIO's approach to innovation is pretty fascinating.
So we've covered their financials, we've talked strategy, but there's one more thing we got to look at.
Yeah.
NIO's like obsessed with innovation and technology.
It's not just about building cars for them.
Right.
They want to create this whole ecosystem around electric vehicles, and tech is like the core of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're not happy just playing the game.
Right.
They want to like rewrite the rules.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
They're putting a lot of money into things like autonomous driving, battery swapping, even creating these unique digital experiences for their users.
Let's start with the ET9, their executive flagship.
Oh.
It's going into mass production soon. I read that it's basically like a showcase for all their newest tech.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got all these cutting-edge features.
Like what?
Advanced driver assistance systems. Their latest battery tech, it's a statement car.
Yeah.
It's meant to show everyone they're a leader in the luxury EV space.
And then there's their battery swapping tech. That seems like a real game changer.
It is.
They're not just relying on charging stations like everyone else. They're building this whole network of swap stations.
Yeah.
Where you can swap out a dead battery for a full one in like minutes.
A bold move. It could give them a big advantage.
Yeah.
Think about it. No more range. Anxiety refueling is super fast.
Right.
And you can even upgrade your battery as tech gets better.
It's like a pit stop in Formula One.
Yeah.
Get and swap batteries, get back out there.
Exactly.
But is this actually going to work long term?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
It's expensive to build and maintain. And you need a lot of people using it for it to really be effective. But if they can pull it off, it could really set them apart.
Yeah, it kind of ties into their whole user enterprise thing, right?
Yeah.
They're not just selling cars, they're building a community and experience.
Exactly. It's about creating that long-term relationship with customers, giving them extra value throughout the whole time they own the car.
So they're thinking beyond just the sale. It's about making customers loyal and engaged, making them feel connected to the brand.
That's a strong strategy, especially with all the competition in the EV market.
Okay, so looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities for NIO on the tech side?
Well, things change so fast in this industry.
Yeah.
They have to constantly innovate, invest in research and development, stay ahead of the curve to keep up.
It's a race and they can't fall behind.
Exactly. But challenges can also be opportunities.
Right.
The EV market's still young.
Yeah.
There's room for new companies to come in and shake things up.
So they got to be flexible, adaptable, and willing to take risks.
Absolutely. And they've shown they can do that. Their battery swapping is a perfect example. It's risky, but it could pay off huge if they do it right.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It is.
What are you most curious to see from NIO in the coming years?
I'm really interested to see how this multi-brand strategy works out.
Yeah.
Especially with this Firefly brand going after the mass market.
Right.
Can they stay premium and appeal to everyone at the same time?
And can they actually produce enough and keep up with the tech to meet the demands of a much bigger customer base?
Those are the big questions.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, NIO isn't afraid to push the limits and try new things.
Right.
They're making big bets on the future of how we get around, and it's going to be exciting to watch what they do.
So for anyone listening, if you're into the future of transportation, if you love innovation and tech, keep an eye on NIO.
Definitely.
They're a company worth watching.
And don't forget about NIO Day 2024.
Right.
They'll probably announce some really cool stuff there.
Right. This deep dive has been quite a journey.
It has.
We've gone from record deliveries and these huge expansion plans
to
all the financial details
Right.
and the cutting edge of EV technology.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
Yeah, it has.
NIO really makes you think about the future and how we'll get around.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep into the stuff that matters to you.
Yeah.
Until next time.